Crossovers, if done properly, are really cool, and not just from a fan service perspective. Marvel does it all the time with the Easter eggs, the multiple appearances of Thanos, the groove-chinned Purpleman, and that nurse what can't make up her mind about if she's a Daredevil or Jessica Jones character. Stop trying to save everyone, Claire. It's unsustainable. You'll hurt yourself. While it's one thing to have characters from the same universe show up for a cuppa and a chinwag, it's an entirely different legal nightmare to have opposing IPs appear opposite one another. But this hasn't been enough to stop it from happening in the wonderfully weird world of wrestling. Hell, WWE have literally just greenlit a return to the Octagon for sentient mountain Brock Lesnar. Crazy times. In a similar vein, did you hear that WhatCulture's very own wrestling promotion, WCPW, will be featuring another company's champion in Ring of Honor's Jay Lethal, and that he'll be defending said Ring of Honor World Title against Noam Dar on June the 15th in Newcastle? See? The timing of this video is starting to make sense. I'm not Adam, or even Simon. I'm Ben from WhatCulture, and here are wrestling's top 7 biggest cross-promotional appearances. Number 7, Buff Bagwell vs Booker T. It's July 2001, and just months after Vince McMahon bought his competition, WCW and United States champion Booker T is set to square off against future sexy time for pay guy Buff, seriously, what is up with those hats, Bagwell, in a match that's monumental for 2 reasons. The first is that from the art, stingers, and splash screens to the wrestlers and the titles, this is very much a WCW branded segment on WWF Raw. And secondly, many allege that a certain Mr. McMahon had strong feelings that Buff doesn't quite have as much of the stuff as he'd like to think Bagwell wasn't up to the task, and the match bombed. This would be Bagwell's last televised appearance for WWF and set the precedent for how WCW was made to look quite silly throughout the remainder of the invasion angle. Number 6. Ric Flair's the real world's heavyweight champion. In 1991, Ric Flair was fired from WCW after a falling out with Executive Vice President Jim Herd, probably over limousines, jets, and Space Mountain, or something. However, as Flair was still technically the NWA champion and was owed some $25,000 for the bond he'd paid on the belt, Ric took it with him, because he's Ric Flair, and Ric Flair don't play your games. Not only was a match held a mere 2 weeks after he was fired to crown a new champ, but the Nature Boy was stripped of the title when he signed for the WWF in September. Oh, Ric, just imagine if, even after all that, he still showed up on WWF primetime with the belt. Oh yeah, he did. Proclaiming himself to be the real world's heavyweight champion, he'd continued this claim until he won the WWF Championship. WCW then filed a lawsuit against WWF, and the title was returned. Number 5. Ring of Honor at Wrestle Kingdom. Hey look, it's Ring of Honor defending their biggest prize at one of the most exciting annualized wrestling events in the world. As part of their talent exchange agreement, Ring of Honor talent occasionally pops up in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and New Japan Pro Wrestling stars occasionally pop up in WWE. In Ring of Honor. New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 10 saw the likes of Cheeseburger appear in the New Japan Rumble, the Briscoes teaming with Toru Yano to defeat the Bullet Club, and Ring of Honor World Champion Jay Lethal successfully defend his title against Michael Elgin. Speaking of which, maybe you haven't heard, but Jay Lethal will be defending that same title at WCPW on June the 15th. Come on down. Number 4. Ronda gets Rousey at WrestleMania. For me, one of the best parts of wrestling are the kicks to the face. They look brutal, they sound brutal, and they make me pull the same face infants do when you give them a lemon to eat. It's a shame then that Ronda Rousey's UFC career has been temporarily halted by a very real kick to the mush, but at the point she showed up to help The Rock at WrestleMania 31, she was the one doing the kicks all up in the faces and such. Okay, so technically she wasn't there in a UFC capacity, but holy crap, it's UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion Ronda Rousey in a WWE ring, and she's beating up Stephanie, which is great because Stephanie is a cackling wank pheasant who probably rides a broomstick to Raw every week. It's failed to really materialize into any kind of storyline, but that's probably because of that kick to her face. Number 3. Christian Cage's TNA return. Did you know Christian was in TNA? Yeah, probably goddamn know-it-all IWC. After splitting from WWE in 2005 when his contract expired, he hopped over to Jeff Jarrett's Wrestling Dream House and reassumed his old wrestling name, Christian Cage, which, let's be honest, is a pretty badass name. He was there for 3 years before making his return to WWE, capturing 2 NWA World titles and feuding with the likes of Kurt Angle, Booker T, and AJ Styles. In a monumental agreement that reads more like a prisoner transfer between warring nations than a talent exchange, WWE allowed Cage to appear on TNA programming in 2012 to announce the fan-voted #1 moment in TNA history. Not exactly earth-shattering, but in return TNA allowed Ric Flair to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as part of the 4 Horsemen stable. Nice. Number 2. Taz vs. Awesome. The year 2000 was weird for wrestling. ECW and WCW were in the final, unflattering throes of death, and Vince was just producing outstanding television and rubbing his oily, vulturine talons with glee as he circled overhead, biding his time. Let's break this down, nice and simple like. Mike Awesome was ECW champion. WCW wanted Mike Awesome. Proprietor of ECW, Paul Heyman, saw what WCW had done with WWF's Women's Championship and wanted no part of it. They eventually came to an agreement, and Mike Awesome needed to drop the title before jumping ship. Step up ECW fan favorite Taz. Taz was signed with WWF. A WWF talent beat a WCW talent for the ECW title in an ECW ring. Oh, Exhibit would be proud. Number 1. Rick Rude, the Ninth Doctor. Rick Rude was many things to many people. He was a founding member of both DX and the NWO. He had the world's most beautiful mullet and a mustache so manly that Chuck Norris famously died while hiking through the bristly jungle. And he liked wearing tights with pictures of other wrestlers' wives' faces on the crotch. Good lad. Oh, and he also managed to appear on WWF, WCW, and ECW programming within a week. Disgusted with how the WWF had treated Bret Hart following the Montreal kerfuffle, Rude departed for WCW shortly after. However, as Raw was pre-taped and Nitro was live, they aired at the same time, and a few days later, Rick would show up on ECW 2, albeit in footage from a few months prior due to issues cramming content into syndicated telecasts. He certainly got around. And that's our list. Are there any blinders we missed off? Leave a comment below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even follow me on Twitter here should you fancy it. I'm Ben from WhatCulture.com, and we'll see you at WCPW on June the 15th.